The legendary Yezdi motorcycle brand, known as much for its fun-to-ride bikes as for their presence in Indian popular culture in the 1970s and 80s, makes a comeback. The new Yezdi models are trying to replicate that popularity, at the same time venturing into new segments with off-road capable adventure and scrambler models. The new Yezdi motorcycle range promises adventure, a bit of nostalgia, as well as inroads into new territory with the most affordable scrambler on sale right now. As the name suggests, the Yezdi Adventure has typical adventure bike styling with a tall stance, short windscreen, wide handlebar, and large front wheel to take on rough terrain. It gets a larger 15.5 litre fuel tank and also features additional mounting brackets along the fuel tank as well as the tail section. The Adventure offers a comfortable riding position, well suited for long hours in the saddle. The engine has been tuned for maximum power, with torque peaking later in the rev range for better highway performance. And going by its name, it does get decent off-road capability. And when the going gets tougher, the Adventure, with its high ground clearance and long suspension travel, gobbles up almost every kind of terrain.
As an off-road bike, the Yezdi Adventure can certainly take on rough terrain. Our test track here is quite technical, lots of loose gravel, big rocks, big boulders, and this one completely sailed through. The engine on the Adventure has been tuned for the maximum power so that you can cover long distances on the highway at relatively high speeds. Peak torque is also quite respectable, kicks in at 6,500 RPM. But what I feel is, if it had a flatter torque curve, more torque in the low end, it would have made off-road riding even more impressive. But problem is, at 190 kgs, over 190 kgs fully fueled, it's still a heavy bike. And the front end feels a little heavy, so when you're riding off-road, especially jumping over obstacles and such, it feels a little difficult to maneuver. But overall, I think it's still a good bike. As far as long distance riding is concerned, we'll have to reserve a judgment for it before we get to cover some miles on the new Adventure.
The Roadster is the closest to the Java 42 in design, but it gets a long wheelbase, giving it a stance which looks something of a mix between a cruiser and a retro roadster. The circular LCD instrument console is the same as the Adventure's, but misses out on navigation. The Yezdi Roadster shares the same Java Perak-derived 334cc engine as the other Yezdi models, but it has been tuned with a narrow power band suited for everyday use. But figures on paper are one thing and actual real-world feel is another. While the engine feels throaty, the Roadster's longish wheelbase makes it a little lethargic around corners. The Roadster though offers a lot of color options and is the most affordable model in the Yezdi range.
As the name suggests, the Yezdi Roadster is built for everyday use, for short dashes in and around the city for a daily commute and that kind of riding. The engine has also been tuned for that kind of riding. So it has the narrowest power band, the red line is at 7,300 RPM, the least amongst the three Yezdi motorcycles. It also gets the least suspension travel and the least ground clearance. But this is the new Yezdi motorcycle which gets the most color options, and it also gets the alloy wheels with tubeless tires, the only Yezdi motorcycle with tubeless tires in the new range. As far as the design is concerned, it's a bit of a hit and miss for me. Some angles I like it, some angles I'm not a fan of. and overall performance is quite likable. It's more or less similar to what you've ridden the Perak. We also, of course, haven't been able to try out the top end, but I suspect it will go around 120-125 kilometers per hour quite comfortably. On the dynamics front though, I would go out on a limb and say I prefer the Java 42 over the Yezdi Roadster. That's more agile and planted. But if it's the real Yezdi, the old Yezdi two-stroke design that you're looking for, it's the Roadster, which is the closest to the old Yezdi bikes.
The Scrambler offers a unique flavor with its short wheelbase, stripped down design and youthful personality. As the name suggests, it's built for mild off-road duties and retains the cool modern classic vibe while looking like a true blue factory custom. It has a striking pose with a round headlamp, teardrop-shaped fuel tank and chrome-finished dual exhausts. The tall and wide handlebar offers a comfortable riding position, and being the lightest with the shortest wheelbase, dynamically the Scrambler feels the most planted and agile. Ride quality is on the firm side but not very hard. Although a longer ride over a few hundred kilometers will possibly reveal how practical it may turn out to be. The engine has been tuned for the least power and torque on the Scrambler, but that's only a part of the story. But for mild off-road fun, it's the Scrambler with its punch low end grunt, which makes for the most enjoyable state of tune. Throttle response is crisp, with torque coming in low and strong. And its relatively lower weight makes the Scrambler the most fun among the three Yezdis.
Yes, this here is the most affordable Scrambler that you can buy in the market today, and the Yezdi Scrambler is the lightest amongst the three Yezdi siblings. On paper, the power and torque may look less than the others, but that flat torque curve makes all the difference when you're riding off-road. This one's got a punchy low end, and it's so much fun to ride off-road. Yes, on the street, I could feel some vibes on the pegs around 5,500 RPM, but the riding stance, the position is very comfortable. Especially if you want to venture off-road, you should definitely give it a thought. This one, the Yezdi Scrambler.
Our first ride of the new Yezdi motorcycles was brief, with just a taste of what each of the new models have to offer. To actually get an all-round feel of how capable the Yezdi bikes are, we will be looking forward to a full review on the open road very soon.